section, I'm going to explain how you can work on your client in a very safe way, in a very nourishing way. We start out with centering. So before you touch somebody, you always want to come from a place of being rather than doing. So you take a moment just to take a couple of breaths, to center yourself, maybe say a few words internally of gratitude or thanks, just to set the space in a very beautiful way. So I'm going to just do that internally for a moment. So after I centered myself, I open up my hands and I place them on my client's feet. This first exercise is called palming the feet. You want to encircle the entire foot with your hand. Shift your body weight forward and sink. Replace the hands a little bit higher up the foot. Exhale and sink. So just walking up and down your client's instep of the foot and apply pressure. The important points about palming is that you use your entire hand, not just this portion of the hand, but the entire hand. So anything like this will feel very pokey, it won't feel nourishing, and it will feel very insecure to the person. So encircling the hand or encircling the foot with your hand. The other principle is that you want to stack your bones on top of one another so that you can use your arms as a pillar of support, so that the energy can really come from your core out through your shoulders and arms into your hands. So in Thai massage or in body work in this sequence, we never work with our hands, we always work with our body weight, because that is making it very easy for us, and it gives a quality of touch that is coming from a very deep place. So again, stacking bone on bone, encircling the entire foot, and then just shifting my body weight. And that's applying the pressure. If you weren't doing the principles right, it might look something like this. Or it may be looking something like this. If you just work out of your hands, this is not the right way. It feels very different, and it just touches the physical body, but it doesn't really go any deeper. So we place the hands again, shift the body weight. Plantar flexion of the feet is the next exercise. Slide the foot over, take your hands so that they rest on the heel, give a quick tuck, and place the heel back on the ground. Place the hands near the ankle, on top of the foot, lean forward, lengthen the foot, and apply pressure downward. Inhale, release. Replace the hands closer to the toes and sink. Inhale, release. And replacing the hands closer to the ankle, lengthen and sink. When you're doing the sequence of palming and plantar flexing the foot, make sure that you're sitting very comfortably in between a person's legs. So I sit in what's called Vajrasana, or Japanese sitting style. If that's not comfortable for you, you could also sit in a squat like this. Or if your body is relatively tight, you can come up into a lunge like this, which also works. So just make sure that you're positioning yourself in a very comfortable way. The other thing to be aware of is to have the feet relatively close to your own body. If Mandy's feet were out here, I would have a really hard time applying pressure. So I bring him close, and then it's going to be very easy for me to sink my body weight. Now I'm going to check out what's going on the outside of Mandy's leg. So I'm going to scoot back and just hold on near the ankle on the outside of the foot and turn her foot inward. It's like, for most people, you won't bring the feet to the ground here because they're so tight in their IT bands or the outside of their leg, that it would prevent that. So for some people, especially athletes, this is all you can do. You know, or elderly people who are not very active or something. It's just been, that's all you can do. That's okay for Mandy. We can go a little bit further. Bring the legs out to the side, then grab one heel. So again, I push the foot over to create some space. Slide my hand underneath so that the heel is resting in the palm of my hand. And I'm going to circle the leg out to the side. My other hand is supporting or touching somewhere on Mandy's body. If I weren't doing it, it just doesn't feel as nourishing. It's okay to do this, but this feels more nourishing. So making small circles to go out to the side gives me a lot of information what's happening on the inside of her leg. Is it tight or is it open? For Mandy, obviously, it's really open. For some people, all you could do is this. And then you'd know, hey, I probably have to give this person some extra exercises to open up the inside of the leg. So from here, you're just going to switch hands. So rest the heel on the medial hand. Bring your lateral knee down and your medial knee up. Lean over. Place the hand on the hip and push the leg forward. I'm coming back to the center. Hold on the heel again. This time you're encircling the heel to get a nice grip. Hold on to the top of the foot and just lean back to give them a nice lengthening through the bottom of their body. So all the way through the back of the legs, into the back of into the upper back, into the neck. So if you watch this, watch her neck, how it's actually getting a nice lengthening here. So here again, I'm not pulling with my hands. I'm just keeping my arms straight, soft but straight. And I'm just leaning back. So if I weren't doing it correctly, I'd be doing something like this, and I'd be just pulling her towards me, like this with my arm strength. But it's going to be really hard for my own back, and it's going to place tension in my shoulders, which of course I don't want. So you can do that 3 times, and place the foot back on the ground. I'm going to show you the other side. Pick up the foot, this time a little bit faster, hold on to the foot. There's no reason to grab the heel, it's just resting in the palm of your hand. Bring the leg out to the side, briefly. Bring the leg over to the other side. Back to the center. And then lean back. And release. 2 more times, hold on nicely to the foot. Leaning back. And release. And leaning back. And release. Pressing the foot back on the ground. Coming back into the center. Positioning the feet so that you can access them well. And doing another round of palming. Instead of pressing down with both hands at the same time, you can also press alternately and walk up and down the foot. So in this way we can walk up all the way to the hip area. So now I'm going to walk up and down the lower leg. The fingers are facing up. If I were to face my fingers out to the side like this, it wouldn't be beneficial because there's this big tibia bone here and you would just be placing pressure on the bone. But really we want to open up the energy lines that are below the bone. So we walk up and down with our fingers facing up. Omitting the knee, we should never place pressure directly on a joint. So we skip the knee, place the fingers now out to the side, and walk up the side towards the groin. And back down again. So it's just body Shape-wise, it wouldn't be wise to place my hands like this, because then I would be slipping. There's a danger of slipping here. So that's why I'm placing my fingers out to the side. And I'm just going to walk up and down once or twice. I'll show you again. So it's really a lazy walking up and down. Don't be too rushed, but also don't be too slow. It's just like, I must compare it all often to a bamboo in a gentle breeze. So the bamboo is just like swinging with the wind. So that's how your work should flow through you and through your hands into the person's body. So the second time that you're up by the hip, you're going to take your hands to the outside and wiggle them down on the outside like this. I'm going to show you again. You place the hands on the hip and you just wiggle the person's body side to side. How fast you wiggle or how much you wiggle depends on the client. Some people may be really bulky and you just like, it would be a really slow wiggle. And some people are really flexible and they're kind of agile and they're just like the etheric or airy personality. They would be wiggling really fast. So some people may be wiggling like this, and some people you may just be wiggling a little bit like this. Take the side of your hand again and pull the leg inward, so that again you have space to pick up the heels of the foot, the client's leg. Hold the heels in your palms and just push the leg up so that the legs are perpendicular to the ground. So I'm going to show you this again. You pull the legs inward, place the hands underneath, grab hold of the heels, and the way I'm going to get her legs perpendicular is I'm going to come out of my sitting position, pushing my arms straight. So it's very easy. There should not be any strain on you or any hard work. It should just be easy. If it doesn't feel easeful, then you're not doing it quite right with the body mechanics. Scooting yourself to the side of the client, bringing your inferior leg up into a lunge, draping her legs over your thigh. Make sure that there's no gap between her thigh and lower leg and my thigh. So, meaning there's no gap here. If I were to do this, it would be very painful for her calf muscle. So I want to be very close here. And I'm going to place my hands on the ankle, and I'm just going to press down to lift her lower back off the floor. That's all I do. And I'm going to swing her just by moving my hip. So again, this is all coming from your core. So I'm just wiggling my core around, which then moves my leg, which then moves her leg. So I can just let her swing there for a little bit. This is really good to release lower back pain and any pain in the hip. It creates space between the femur bone and the ilium or the hip bone. So there's more space between here. And you can just swing it for a while. If somebody has trouble to lie in Savasana, or the final relaxation pose in yoga, and you were just doing this hip swinging, the person will probably be able to lie fully in Savasana rather than with their knees elevated. So in order to get a little bit more swing, you can use your hand and just explore the side of her leg here, the outside of her leg, all the way up into the ribcage. And you can use the hand to make the swing a little bit more prominent. And with my hand, I'm sensing. Now the whole point of actually my hand is not so much to increase the swinging motion, it's more like I'm sensing what is going on in the person's body. What else do they need to be feeling really free within their body? So if, like for Mandy, her body is really balanced, but some other people, let's say runners, or cyclists, their IT bands are usually really tight, and as I'm sensing on a person like that, it's like, oh my god, they're tight here, I definitely need to give them some exercises, or I need to do some yoga poses or Pilates stretches or whatever to open up that area more fully. So you're just sensing. I'm going to place the hips back down on the ground, keeping the leg draped over my leg. place the hand on her rib cage below the chest, and I'll wait for her inhale, and as she exhales, I'm going to press down and in to compress her rib cage. I'm going to place my hands a little bit out to the side, and I'm going to press more inward rather than downward. Place my entire hand again on from the top and press down. I continue doing that as I move into the chest. I open up into butterfly hands as I move above the chest. And onto the shoulders and pressure down. So again, this principle of sinking your body weight applies everywhere through this entire sequence. You never want to use the power of your hands. This will feel very scary to somebody when you give a lot of pressure. If I were to press with just the power of my hands, to be like, oh my God, you know, like I've got to hold back. But if you wait for them to breathe, you move with their breath, and you use your body weight, it will feel very safe and nourishing for the person. The principle we learned in the palming section also applies here. You want to use your entire hand. So often beginning students of Thai massage or body work, they just use maybe this part of their hand, top of the palm here. And they apply a little bit too much pressure here, which feels then very pointy and pokey to the person. So you want to encircle again, whatever your working area is, you want to encircle the person's body and then apply pressure evenly. Now as I'm working up the chest, the center of the chest, for many there's a lot of space because the chest is small. For women who have larger breasts, you might want to place your hands like this, so palm on palm, right on the chest here, and then you can give that same pressure downward. But this way your hands aren't in the way of applying pressure. Okay, so then we're going to walk down the arms in a crab walk. So this is, again, palming. Just walking down towards the hand. You can apply some pressure on the wrist. You can apply pressure on the palm of the hand. And using, again, as much of your hand as you can. So make sure not to do this, as, again, this is very pointy and doesn't feel nourishing to the person. So we want to encircle whatever we are working. And we come back to the shoulder, we encircle it. I'm going to show you one more time. Just walking up and down like a crab. Okay? Then I'm going to place my hands just at the shoulder area. And I'm going to do a move like this, underneath the shoulders. So it's like a scooping, as if you were scooping ice cream. And you're just exploring the back of the person's shoulders. You can also go into the neck and do a massaging motion like this. Making sure not to be on the spine, but right next to the spine. Roll her head to either side. That creates space here for me to put my hand here. My elbow, or I should say my forearm, is on her shoulder. Then I roll her head onto my hand, place my other arm on the shoulder area, and cradle her head in my hands. Now as I wait for her inhale, and as she exhales, I pull the head towards her chest. Inhale, release, and exhale, pressing my forearms down to lift the head. On the third exhale, you just slide your hands out from underneath, slide your hands along the arms and hands, scoot back, and come back into your original position, sitting in between her legs. Now some of you might not be able to be in a lunge like this for this entire sequence, and that's okay. You can do what we just did, the compression of the chest, the palming down the arms, the shoulders, and lifting of the head from a position by either lunging yourself over the person's body, and doing the work from here is equally possible. Or you can stand up, and if you have nice open hamstrings and open lower back, you can do the work from here. What you want to make sure for yourself is that you're always comfortable when you are working on the person. So let's say you had a tight lower back yourself for some reason. You definitely want to be in a lunge like this, because that will make it easier for you to keep your back straight. If you were to use this version where you're standing up and your back is rounding and you're working like this, you may hurt yourself. So you want to choose a working position that is really comfortable for you, because the more comfortable you are in your own body, it will translate into your client's or friend's body. So now we're going to roll her over onto her belly. This is a nifty way to turn somebody over without asking them to do anything. It's nice because then they can completely relax and they know they don't have to do anything. So pick up her feet again and lift them up. I'm going to shift her body to one side, bringing the legs down. She's going to lie a little bit funny for just a second, and that's okay. Then you grab her wrists and you slide her over to the side. Take the pillow out and bring the arm up. So I'm going to roll her over to this side. So I want to bring up this arm, same side arm, so that she's free to roll. I come to the opposite side, place my hand on the hip and on the shoulder, which is two stable points on the body where I can roll her. And I'm just going to roll her over onto her belly. And I'm going to bring the arm down, the other arm by the side. Of course, if you work on a yoga mat or a Pilates mat or some kind of smaller mat, you might just want to ask your client to turn over themselves. It's a little bit too much work to make it happen.